hopefully we have our table of contents updated at this point, hopefully. Hopefully we have our table of contents updated right now. Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and start our notes. Today's notes are going to be number 10. All right, on the very top part, this is actually kind of what we talked about yesterday. To solve an equation, we need to blank the variable. What am I doing to the variable? Lock, isolate. We need to isolate the variable by doing the opposite. That was the big thing we learned yesterday. If you're adding in the problem, to solve it, you're going to subtract. If you're subtracting in the problem, to solve it, you're going to add. We're always going to be doing the opposite. Now, when we get into multiplication and division, there are some very important ways that you have to do the opposite. So I'm going to put a little star here. So if you'll look at the first 6 problems, do y'all see how every single one of these is a division problem? Y'all notice that? All right. Guys, what we're going to do when we're dividing, so if these are dividing, what's the opposite thing to do? To multiply, okay? So we are going to multiply, but this is what I want us to realize. That when you're multiplying on top, and I'm going to underline on top, is the opposite of dividing on the bottom. Which does that make, top is the opposite of bottom, right? Because if you'll notice, guys, in all of these division problems, it's P divided by 15 is on the bottom. Y divided by 17 is on the bottom. B divided by 12 is on the bottom. Whenever you're dividing, that number is going to be on the bottom. So when we do the opposite of multiplying, where am I going to have to do my multiplication? On the top. Because not only do we want to do that opposite operation, we want to do it in the opposite location. Guys, if you think about how we did addition and subtraction, when I was doing the addition and subtraction, it said plus 2, and then underneath the 2 we put minus 2, right? So we were still going top to bottom. It's going to be the same thing on these, all right? And now remember, just before we started recording, while we were talking about kind of just the topics of the day, I mentioned that we're going to be multiplying today, but how are we going to write it? Using parentheses. Using parentheses. So we can't use our X for multiplication. We can't use our dot for multiplication. And again, that's just because they're not going to allow you to use it in the 7th grade. Like, straight out of the student's mouth. That's what I was told this morning. She even said, Ms. Sawyer, if you would show them without it, because they're not going to be able to use it next year, okay? So, on number 15, on number 1, all right, there's my equal sign. I still want to draw my line down the equal sign because that's where it's splitting. So now I have a left side and a right side. On the left side is where I have P divided by 15. The opposite, I want you to watch how I do it. The opposite of P divided by 15 is P times 15. So I'm just putting that 15 next to P in parentheses. Okay. And if I do it on one side, I have to do it on the other. So guys, I'm going to put 15 next to 9. I know some of you are like, but I thought you said we had to do it on top. Is that right? Because I'm seeing some like crinkled eyebrows out there. All right, guys, I want you to think about that. If 9 is a whole number, if I make it a fraction, it would be 9 over 1. So because 9 is a whole number, isn't it on top already? So when we put the 15 next to it, 15 is on top by putting it by 9, okay? All right, questions so far? Are we okay with this? Are we okay? Opposite of dividing is multiplying. The only thing is you're going to put your multiplication on top, okay? So now this says 15 on top, 15 on bottom. What is 15 divided by 15? What is 15 divided by 15? Raise your hand. 15 divided by 15. Danielle? 1. 15 divided by 15 is 1. So guys, these, when I'm marking them out, They're not becoming 0, they're becoming 1, which means I have 1p. Well, guys, when I write 1p, do I put 1 and then p? No, I just write p. And we learned that the past 2 weeks when we were doing expressions, right? We don't want 1x, we just want x. We don't want 1n, we just want n. Logan? No capital P's. Make sure it's lowercase. It won't when I write my answer next to it. Okay. All right, so guys, I need to do 9 times 15. Guys, 9 times 15, some of us can do it in our heads. Some of us might not be able to. All right, I'm going to go over to the side and do 9 times 15, so 15 times 9. Guys, this isn't part of my problem. This is just scratch work to where, oh, I can't multiply it in my head. I'm going to go over to the side somewhere. All right, 9 times 5 is 45. Carry my 4. 9 times 1, 9 plus 4, 13. So I get P equals 135. You'll see how now that I put 135 there, it looks lowercase. You'll see what I'm talking about now? Looks lowercase now, doesn't it?
I know because the equal sign was up.
Yeah, the equal sign was up at the top, not in the middle. All right, so that's my answer, 135. Okay. We do still need to check. So when I check it, all right, again, guys, remember when you check it, you're looking at the original problem. So, guys, y'all see right there what I highlighted? All right, it says P over 15. That's what it originally said, right? Now, what did I just find out P is? Kelly, what did I just find out P is? 135. So I'm going to put 135 on top instead of P. And then I'm going to draw my fraction bar. And I'm going to put divided by 15. Okay. What is 135 divided by 15? How many times can 15 go into 135? Chandler? 9 times. And I know that because I carefully worked out 9 times 15. I can look here. 15 times 9 is what gives me 135. So I get 9. 9 is what I got here. Was 9 what I had there? So those two match, so it checks. It's correct. Okay. Guys, that was just my checking. This is 135 divided by 15. If you wanted to, guys, we could go to the side and do 15 divided by 135. 15 goes into 135. We're saying 9 times, so let's check and see if that works. 9 times 5, 45. Carry the 4. 9 times 1, 9. Plus the 4, 13. So, oh, that's 0. So did 15 go into 135 9 times? Yes. Okay. So that's all my checking. All right, number 2. Again, y'all know I like splitting it where that equal sign is. It just makes it easy to see which side is which. All right, raise your hand if you think you can tell me what am I going to do on both sides on number 2. Alexandra. Put 17 in parentheses. Make sure we put it on top. So we're going to put 17 next to the y, and I'm going to put 17 next to 10. Okay? What's going to happen to my 17 on top and my 17 on bottom? Lola? What am I going to do if I have the same thing on top and bottom? Jacob? I'm going to cross them out and I'm going to bring down my y. And again, because multiplying by y and multiplying by 17 and dividing by 17 are opposites. That's why they're canceling. All right, and then what's 10 times 17? 170. I like that one. That one was easy to work in my head, wasn't it? On your homework tonight, your numbers are small. They're actually really fast. The notes today are way harder than your homework, okay? All right. Guys, that doesn't mean flip and check. I'm telling, trust me. Trust me. Okay, I promise. I'm not going to lie to you. All right. Checking it. Again, I'm going to look at that original problem. I'm so sorry. Try not to cough into the microphone. Okay. So now do y'all see where it says y divided by 17? What was y? 170. And then we're going to divide that by 17. What is 170 divided by 17? 10. Okay, so I got 10 here and I got 10 there. Are we good?
Yep.
Yep. All right. Number 3, what am I going to do to number 3 to work out number 3? I'm going to go ahead and split it. Hannah? So parentheses 12 next to B and parentheses 12 next to 15. Right? Guys, it's really important when you're multiplying, it's next to the letter. Okay? Because when I'm dividing, it's under the letter, right? So everything has to be around the letter for these. All right. What's going to happen to my 12 on top and 12 on bottom? What's going to happen to those, Zach? 12 on top and 12 on bottom. What do I do?
12 on top and 12 on bottom. You have to multiply 12 on both.
What am I going to do that 12 on top and 12 on bottom? Grace?
Mark it out and bring the B down.
Yeah, they're going to mark out, and I'm just going to bring down B. Equals? And now we got to do 15 times 12. 15 times 12. Dylan, you got that worked out? Oh, okay. What do you get? 180 is good. 180, all right? Some of us are more like me, like Dylan. I can't do that in my head, all right? So if you're like me and not like Dylan, remember we can go to the side, work it out. All right, in fact, here's how I did it last period, like just last period. There's where I worked it. Y'all see that? Did all my work. Put my zeros placeholder, okay? So we did get 180. All right. Now let's check it. When I check it, it said, of my original problem, it said B over 12, right? What was B? 180 over 12, okay? So guys, I am going to kind of check this in my head. Are y'all okay with that? So how many times will 12 go into 18? Once. And that's going to leave me with 6, right? So now that makes 60 here. 12 will go into 60. 5 times, so I get 15. Is 15 what I'm looking for? Yep. So are we good? Yep. All right. We're going to look at number 4. We're going to look at number 4. All right, number 4. Ooh, what do you notice about number 4? It has a decimal. What else do you notice? Alexandra? The fraction's on the right. Does that really matter to us? No, that just means, okay, the number that I pick is going to be on the right instead of on the left. My variable is going to stay on the right. It doesn't change the way we do it. So on this problem, what am I going to multiply both sides by? Daniela? 5. Because 5 is what is underneath the R. Do y'all understand how the number we're using has to be the number with the variable, the number with the letter? Okay, so if I do 5 times R, I've also got to do 5 times my 4.7. Okay. All right, so 5 times 4.7. All right, 5 times 7 is 35. So I put my 5, carry my 3. 5 times 4 is 20 plus the 3. 23. All right, now this had a decimal in it, so where's my decimal going to go in this answer? Logan? Between the 3 and the 5. So I get 23.5 equals R, because what's going to happen to those 5s? They cross out. Okay. So that's my answer. 23.5 equals R. It's not written very pretty, but that's my answer. Okay. So now let's look. Here's my original problem, that R over 5. So when I check it, what's going to go on top? It said R, so we're going to put 23.5. Draw my fraction bar just like it had it. And what's on the bottom of that? 5. Okay. Now watch how I'm going to do this. I'm going to pretend that I'm doing it in the division house. Okay, so I'm going to do 5. Can 5 go into 2? No. Can 5 go into 23? Yes. How many times? 4. All right, so 5 goes into 23 4 times, right? Now I'm looking at just the 35, right? Do you see how between that 3 and 5 there's a decimal? Which means I need to go ahead and write my decimal in. How many times does 5 go into 35? 7. So I get 4.7. Is that what I had over here? Yep. So we're good. All right. Are there questions about how we're doing that multiplication? Okay, guys, I know that we had 2 more on here, but we really don't have enough time, so we're going to mark those out. So just mark out 5 and 6, and we're going to move down to the bottom. Mark out 5 and 6, we're going to move down to the bottom. All right, on your homework tonight, there aren't really any decimals. I just thought it would be some good practice to look at in our notes, but we're out of time. Running short on time today, all right? All right, example 2. So this time, do you notice all of my numbers are right next to the letter? What operation is that when they're right next to each other? Sarah Paige? Multiplication. So, let's put a little star again. All right, and we're going to put that dividing. I kind of tried to move up because I got some space up above, so I'm going to kind of right angled up. Dividing on the bottom. Dividing on the bottom is the opposite of multiplying. And where do I multiply? On the top. So when you do your division, it should be on the bottom, just like we saw in the other problems. All right? All right. For number 7, there's my line. All right, what number is with my variable? What number is with my letter, Willie, on number 7? What number is with it? 15. So that says 15 times s. The opposite of 15 times s would be to divide. So I'm going to draw that fraction bar. Remember, that's our new way of writing division. And what am I dividing by? Logan? 15, because that's what's next to my variable. That's what's next to the letter. So I'm dividing by 15. If I divide by 15 on one side, got to divide by 15 on the other side. Okay? So my 15 on top and 15 on bottom, what's going to happen to those, Luke?
You are going to divide them.
Going to divide them, which gives me 15 divided by 15 is 1. And remember, for 1s, do I write 1s? No, I just put s. Okay? So those really just kind of, they cancel out. We mark them out. All right? 120 divided by 15. Diesel? 8. Very good. 8. Okay. 8. S equals 8. Okay, let's check it. So, just to make sure to check it, when I look at the problem, my original problem said 15s, right? 15s. So I'm going to write 15 times, and what is s going to be? 8. So 15 times 8. 8 times 5? 40. Carry my 4. 8 times 1? 8 plus the 4? 12. Is that what I needed? Yeah, so is 8 the good choice? Yep. What if I multiplied that and I didn't get 120? Like, what if I had said 6? If I had said 6, and I got, when I multiply 15 times 6, that gives me 90. If I got 90, what would that mean to me? Logan? I got something wrong, and I need to maybe not use 6. Go back, rework that problem, okay? Good job. All right, number 8. Again, there's where my split happens. What am I going to do to both sides on this one? Jacob? We're going to use 35, and what operation am I doing? Division. So I'm going to divide by 35, and if I do it on one side, got to do it on the other. All right, y'all, you know what I love is that, like, Jacob, like, didn't even hesitate. He said, I know I'm dividing by 35. How did you know you were dividing by 35, Jacob? It's multiplication. You have to do the opposite. And where was 35 located? It was by the letter. You always, 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 even if it looks weird, because this kind of looks weird, doesn't it? All right? Even if it looks weird, you have to use what's next to the letter. Okay, we have to use what's next to the letter. Are we okay with that? Okay, so let's do kind of the easy part real quick. What happens to my 35 over 35? What happens to those, Kelly? We cross them out and we have Q equals. 5 over 35. All right, guys, here's my tip for you. Did this problem have any decimals in it? No. So, guys, we're not going to divide this. We're not going to get any decimals. All right, Miss Sawyer's math classroom rule. If it doesn't have decimals, don't give me decimals. Okay? 5 over 35. Since I wrote my division that way, what does 5 over 35 look like? A fraction. Looks like a fraction, doesn't it? You ready for the big secret? It is a fraction. It looks like a fraction because it is a fraction. So we're going to treat it just like that. All right? So, guys, I can say, okay, Q equals 5 over 35. But 5 over 35, is that a good fraction? What's wrong with this fraction? Hannah? It can simplify. What number could I use to simplify this? Look. 5. So, guys, I'm going to simplify this. If it wouldn't have simplified, would that have been a good answer? Yeah, but it will. So I'm going to put Q down here. I'm going to do it again. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 35 divided by 5? 7. Okay? So remember, guys, if this was like 5 over 13, would that have been okay? Yeah, 5 over 13 is fine. All right, but it wasn't, so we got to make it 1 over 7. So let's talk about how to check this now. Checking it. Here we go. All right, again, we're going to use that original problem. All right, it said 35Q, correct? So I'm going to write 35. And what did I get as Q?
5. No,
1 7. So I'm just going to write 1/7 next to that in parentheses, okay? And since that's a fraction, I need to make 35 a fraction. How do I do that? Look. Put it over 1. Okay. Y'all see anything that will simplify? Sarah Paige? 35 and 7. Remember, for multiplication, as long as it's top and bottom, we can simplify it, right? So 7 will go into 7 how many times? Once. 7 will go into 35? 5 times. So now if I look on the top, it says 5 times 1, which is 5. And on the bottom, it says 1 times 1, which is 1. And what's 5 over 1 really? 5. So is that what I needed? Yes. Did I get the right answer? Even though it was a funky fraction? I think there's like maybe 1. Not a whole lot. Okay. All right. Number 9 is where it gets really funky. Number 9, because number 9 has a fraction, right? Okay. So this is where, like, so I do things differently, I think, than how Miss Donahue and Miss Willis do it. All right, so guys, this says 5 6 times k equals 1 6, right? All right, guys, for fractions, I'm going to try to make this as easy as I can for you. All right, so here's my rule for fractions. So I'm going to write fractions. Put a little box around it because it's going to be important. For fractions. Oh, better? Okay, good. All right, for fractions, the opposite of multiplying is to multiply, which I know sounds funny. The opposite of multiplying is to multiply, but we're going to use by the reciprocal. Reciprocal, that's an old vocabulary word. All right? The opposite of multiplying is to multiply by the reciprocal. What is the reciprocal? What is that, Mateo?
Basically, a flipped fraction.
It's where you flip the fraction. It's where you've made the fraction opposite. You flipped it. You made it an opposite, okay? Yes? It was a vocabulary word a long time ago. But yeah, maybe not August. I think it was September, maybe. Okay? So, guys, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal, okay? So, first of all, again, I'm going to split it. There we go. All right, what fraction is next to my variable? What fraction is next to my variable, Alexandra? 5 6. Since that's the one by my variable, that's the one we need the reciprocal of. Okay? So what is the reciprocal of 5 6? Dalton? 6/5. So guys, next to this, I'm going to write 6 over 5, and I'm putting it in parentheses. Okay? And if I do it to one side, do it to the other. Same exact number, 6 over 5. I'm going to pause here before I go any further. Are there any questions on where I got 6 over 5? Any questions on where I got 6 over 5? What fraction is next to k? 5 over 6. And we have to flip it to use the reciprocal, so that's going to be 6 over 5. Okay? Logan?
Actually, we started talking about reciprocal at the end of like the first 9 weeks and the start of the second 9 weeks, because I just looked back in on my second 9 weeks notes, and it said in like the first ever test we talked was about reciprocal.
So it's probably in October then. Okay, so let's look real quick, guys. I want to show you something cool that happens. Look here where the reciprocal is next to my 5, 6. Do y'all see a 6 on top and a 6 on bottom? What happens when I have a number on top and that same number on the bottom, Hannah? It becomes 1. They cancel out, right? So a 6 on top and a 6 on bottom, those are going to cancel. Do y'all see what I did just there? All right, and look at the 5. I have a 5 on top and a 5 on bottom. Those are also going to cancel. So what's the only thing left there? K. Isn't that my whole goal? So the whole reason that we're using the reciprocal is because they all cancel out. And then since I used it on that side, we're using it on the other. So let's look over here. Do y'all see anything that'll simplify before I multiply this out? What'll simplify, Tanner?
6 on 6/5 and 6 and 1/6.
Yeah, so I have a 6 on top and a 6 on bottom again. So guys, I'm going to do exactly what I've been doing. 6 on top, 6 on bottom. I'm going to cancel them. What did they become? 1. If you want to write the 1 in here, you can. So now what do I have on top? 1 times 1 is 1. And on the bottom, 1 times 5 is 5. So my answer is 1/5. I'm going to pause here. Are there any questions so far?
No.
Okay. So there's my answer. We still got to check it. So I'm just going to check it down here since I filled that in. So checking it. Again, we're going to look back. And I know I've kind of marked it out, so you got to kind of read carefully or try to remember what it said. Okay? That said 5, 6, right? Good. I'm glad. Look, some of y'all are like with it. 5, 6. And then it said K. What did I get for K? 1/5. All right. Do y'all see anything that'll simplify in that before I multiply it? Zach? The 5 and 5. So 5 is going to become 1, and 5 is going to become 1. All right. So now I have 1 times 1. 1 and 6 times 1. 6. So I got 1/6. Is that what I had up here?
Yep.
That was 1/6. That's 1/6. We got the right answer. All right. Guys, we're going to mark out 10 and 11. Again, we did not have as much time to do the decimals as I had hoped, but we do need to do 12. 12 is going to be really important. All right. What do you notice about 12? It's a fraction, but, Dylan, it's a mixed number. Guys, mixed numbers are bad news. All right. Mixed numbers, mixed, must be made improper. Mixed must be made improper. Okay. So what is 1 and 2/3? What's that going to change to when I make it improper? Luke? Well, I need to know what that's going to be improper then. All right. Yes, Diesel? 5/3, because we do 3 times 1 is 3 plus 2 is 5. So I get 5/3 m equals 15. So what am I going to multiply both sides by? What am I going to do to both sides? Dylan? We're going to multiply by the reciprocal 3/5. We're flipping that, right? So my 3's would cancel and my 5's will cancel. So I'm going to do 3/5 here. Make sure 15 goes over 1. All right, so I have m equals, will anything simplify? Daniela? 5 and 15. 5 will go into 5 once. 5 will go into 15 3 times. Anything else? All right, remember, my 3's are both on top, so I'm going to multiply those. 3 times 3? 9. 1 times 1? 1. Can I leave it as 9 over 1?
No.
No. So m equals 9. That would be my answer, guys. Guys, homework is on the back. The homework problems are a lot easier. It has a spot for you to solve and for you to check.